Hey everybody, welcome back to Speak New Life, and this is another video which I pray again will encourage somebody as you listen to this. And literally just before I came on camera I was like, okay, Holy Spirit, what can I share today? Like, you know, there's a number of things that I could share because there's a number of things that has happened over the past couple of days alone, which I will get into more detail about at a later date, at a later stage, as and when I can share some of that information. But I tell you, this thing is getting spicy. It is getting exciting, and trusting God and stepping out in faith. Honestly, we're only at the beginning of the stages of stepping out and stuff and seeing some things. But already just yesterday, it was like, what just happened? Like, you know, Kevin and I have made some decisions to do some things, and then right on the back of that came a conversation which was just like, what just happened? And I believe it's going to continue happening, and this is going to be a regular occurrence in our lives. So if you're watching this, get prepared to see some stuff, because our desire is to share us just stepping out and trusting God and seeing something new and allowing him to take us to where he wants to take us, right? Which brings me to the conversation of today. And I just want to talk about Abraham, and before he was Abraham and when he was Abram, and before we even knew him as Abram, we were introduced to his dad, right? And his dad was Terah, right? So Terah. And this verse in the Bible has always kind of intrigued me, or these verses, should I say, because I always wonder, like, as I read it, I tell you what I'm thinking as I'm reading it, right? So it is in Genesis 11, verse 31. And it says here, Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, son of Harran, his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out together from Ur of Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Harran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Harran, right? Now, let me tell you why I find these two verses particularly interesting. Because we see in verse 1 of chapter 12, it says, now the Lord said to Abram, right, after his dad died at 205 in Harran. But what's interesting is that when they left the Ur of Chaldeans, they left heading for Canaan. They never made it to Canaan. They made it to Harran. And I can only imagine that Harran was an okay place. It was an okay place. You know, it was a decent place to bring up a family, to raise children, to do whatever you needed to do there. And so when they got to Harran, Terah thought that this would be a good place to settle. Terah chose to settle in Harran. And I can't help but think, if he had made it all the way to Canaan, would we be talking about Terah, the father of faith, rather than Abraham, the father of faith? Because it sounds, or it looks to me, that there was a conversation that happened somewhere, perhaps even though the text doesn't say it, that a conversation between God and Terah happened, which caused Terah to get up and decide to take his children, and the intention was to head to Canaan. But maybe the journey was difficult. Maybe it was challenging. Maybe they came up against obstacles and hurdles that they weren't expecting. And the journey became hard, perhaps. So when they reached a place that appeared to be safe and settled, they settled there. But then the sad thing is, the Bible then doesn't say anything more about Terah. It doesn't say anything more about him. It just says, the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Harran. That was it. That was the end of the story. There was nothing more to be said about Terah's story. He didn't follow through on the full instructions of them heading to Canaan. He didn't follow through. And so now God had to go speak to Abraham to say, okay, now that your dad is dead, now that, you know, you're no longer settling because of somebody else, it's time to leave. We can't do this. I have a plan and a purpose for you. I am taking you somewhere. I'm taking this nation somewhere. I have an idea for a nation that I'm desiring to bring about. And I need you to not settle in settling. I need you to move and go somewhere so I can do something, right? And what I find interesting is that how many of us, myself included, have actually settled into a situation, a scenario, a relationship, a job, a house, whatever it is, because, you know, the thought of moving on felt too big. It felt, why bother? I'm already comfortable. Why do I need to move on? Why do I need to disturb the balance of what's already happening? Surely I can just continue as normal. But this is the thing. If we were to continue as normal because we're comfortable, then the next sentence in our story will simply be the days of such and such, the days of Maria, the days of Davina, the days of Paulette was 65 years and she died in wherever, 50 miles, 200 miles, 1,000 miles from where you were supposed to die. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? That's the end of your story. Who wants that? Who wants that? I don't want that. Do you want that for yourself? And so this is kind of what, you know, I'm trying to get to. God has a plan and a purpose for our lives that is so much bigger, right? He says exceedingly and abundantly above all you can ask or imagine, right? Why are we okay with buying into the whole thing of just settling because it's convenient, it's comfortable? Why upset the apple cart? You may as well continue as normal. It appears to be working. If you know that you have heard from God and he said, go there, then why are you stopping midway? You may as well just wholeheartedly go out on this thing, immerse yourself in this thing and set out for. Even if you don't make it all the way, find yourself in motion on the way. But don't let that thing, bring you into a false sense of security and safety and comfortability. And then you don't do anything else with that. God has not called us to that. He's not called us to that. He's called us to something so much greater. And, you know, my desire is to live that out. For years, I guess there was some level of comfortability. I was remaining comfortable. I didn't want to do anything different because I didn't know how. And I didn't see myself as being that person who could do those things. But as I've said on numerous occasions on this channel, things are changing. I am changing. And my desire is to bring as many women along with me who are ready to change also. So there are some fun things coming up. I have some fun developments on the way. I have some fun news to share with many of you. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going into Canaan. We are not going to be like Terah, who sat in Harran and died there. That was never meant to be the plan. So if you like this channel, if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share to stay updated for any new videos coming up and all the videos that I'm coming up and planning to share on here and all the information that I'm planning to share on here. It would be great for you to join the journey because this is not Harran. We are heading for Canaan.